All right, guys, welcome back to the Champion Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and today we're going to be doing our first Pokemon Champions meta report. It's something that I want to do on a weekly basis on this channel and cover the online tournaments that happen for Pokemon Champions. There's actually a really healthy, active online tournament scene. We're on the play.limitless.com website. If you don't know what this website is, it's a great place to go and compete in online tournaments for a bunch of different video games. We use this website all of the time for Pokemon Pocket over on the Pocket Mads channel, but there are just so many Pokemon Champions tournaments, mostly VGC tournaments, that have just lists of incredible teams, great sets, and a bunch of data that's going to be really helpful. So what I'm going to do every week is do this meta report, and I'm going to kind of show a reflection of the metagame for this week by highlighting the results of the most played tournament from that past week. So I think it'll kind of keep things updated, Pokemon Champions seemingly has a very fluid metagame. There's things kind of popping up all over the place. New tech is being discovered. New teams are kind of coming in and out. So it's really, really fun, really diverse. What's nice about Limitless is that if we go ahead and we select this team here, it actually shows the full set. Now, we do not have the stat investments, so, that's something that we might have to, just sort of assume or, I suppose, test out yourself. But at least we kind of get an idea, right, of what these teams look like and the moves that they're running in the items, which is cool. So anyway, let's get into it. This is a new channel, by the way, so don't forget to like and subscribe. And hopefully this video is helpful to you guys. But what I want to do, in fact, before we get into all of these different teams, I want to take a look at the metagame, because if you go to this metagame tab, it'll show you what the most popular Pokemon were and their win rates. And this is always very interesting data. So these are the most played Pokemon, kind of a snapshot. I know it's a single tournament, but a large tournament from just, I think, today or yesterday. These are the most played Pokemon right now in competitive Pokemon Champions. And this is going to be Incineroar, the most played Pokemon on 50% of teams, 51% of teams playing Incineroar. And it only had a 47.5% win rate, though. Next up is Sneasler. So as we know, Sneasler, definitely one of the more popular Pokemon in the game. Also one of the best Pokemon in the game on 49% of teams, basically, with a 52% win rate. So Sneasler, pretty successful. Garchomp, the third most popular, 35% of people played Garchomp, and it had a 47% win rate. King Gambit is next up, 34%, 49% win rate. Basculegion is next, also about a 50% win rate. And then Sinistcha. So Sinistcha, kind of one of the more popular support Pokemon in the game. This Pokemon is so good on so many different levels. Not too many really strong grass-type Pokemon. I know Whimsicott's a grass-type, and, Venusaur as well, which really just sees play on Charizard teams. But yeah, the typing on Sinistcha is really, really good. Ghost and Grass is incredible. Great stats, great moves, great support. Probably the best redirection in the game. 53% win rate for Sinistcha, and then Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash is also such an incredible Pokemon. You can play it in so many different ways. I've seen Scarfed Rotom Wash. I've seen, just sort of Citrus Berry Rotom Wash. There's so many different ways to play it. You get the ground type immunity, so it's really nice to play it with Earthquake users. But also you can Burn, you can Thunder Wave, you can Pain Split, you can Volt Switch out, you can Hydro Pump for a ton of damage. One of my favorite Pokemon in the game. 52.5% win rate for Rotom Wash. Aerodactyl soaring up. 20% of teams playing Aerodactyl right now. Honestly, one of the best Tailwind setters. Actually more popular than Whimsicott right now with Prankster, and I think there are some reasons for that. Aerodactyl is super duper fast and has pretty good attack stats, so you usually play Focus Sash Aerodactyl. You can play Tailwind. Here, I'll pull up an example, right? So the number one team in the tournament was playing this Aerodactyl, so you can play Focus Sash, and it has Unnerve. So the thing is, Unnerve Aerodactyl means that your opponent cannot play berries, and a lot of teams are playing multiple berries. Like, it's just a common thing in Pokemon Champions. But yeah, Tailwind, Rock Slide, Dual Wing Beat is broken. So the thing about Dual Wing Beat is that it hits twice, so you can KO Focus Sash users. It's going to be super effective against things like Whimsicott, which are other Terraform setters, or Sneasler, right? So it's going to be really good into Sneasler. Rock Slide is just a super good move in general. So yeah, Focus Sash, Unnerved, Tailwind, Aerodactyl, kind of one of the best Pokemon in the entire game right now, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, 20% of teams playing Aerodactyl. Charizard. So Charizard was the most popular Mega, but only had a 33% win rate at this tournament. So definitely didn't do extremely well, went 41 and 82. Mega Floette is the next most popular Mega. And Mega Floette did do pretty well, as we see, with a 58% win rate. So Mega Floette just happens to be, I think, far and away kind of the strongest Mega Pokemon in the game. And then here's Whimsicott, similar to Aerodactyl, is kind of a supportive Tailwind setter. Sees a lot of play with Charizard, and then Venusaur as well. So I think that's why you see these three Pokemon really close in play, is because Charizard, Whimsicott, Venusaur kind of all see a lot of play together, but all of them kind of struggled. So that package of Pokemon didn't do very well. And I probably think a big reason for that is if you look at a lot of the other Pokemon that saw play, Rotom Wash, Aerodactyl, Basculegion, Legion. These are Pokemon that are going to, Garchomp, Rock Slide, going to be pretty good into these fire type teams. Farigiraf, Trick Room, seeing a little bit of play, but definitely way more Tailwind than Trick Room seeing play right now. And that's very interesting, but successful 51% win rate for Farigiraf. Excuse me, I'm still sick. Aegislash down here. 11% of the metagame. Aegislash is kind of counter meta to Floette right now, but it's honestly just kind of a strong Pokemon. Yeah, had a really good win rate, 60%. So maybe Aegislash, something to think about. Tyranitar, 10% of teams played T-Tar. It had a 50% win rate, so nothing too incredible there. And yeah. These are the rest of the most popular Pokemon. So Pelipper kind of far down, not too many rain teams. Dragonite sees a little bit of play. Milotic seeing some play. Archaludon, other rain teams. Delphox, though. Mega Delphox, definitely an interesting Pokemon. Let's take a look now. Those were the most played Pokemon, the most successful Pokemon individually at the tournament. Now let's take a look at the standings and we'll break down these teams because this is obviously what I think a lot of people are kind of interested in, and the diversity of all these teams is so crazy. I love Pokemon Champions. It really is a game where there's so many different strategies that can do well, but this is Burning Blazer's team. This is the first place team of the tournament. He was playing Focus Sash, Tailwind Aerodactyl, Soft Sand, Earthquake Garchomp with Rough Skin. He was playing Choppleberry Friendguard Mousehold with Follow Me, Super Fang, Protect, and Taunt. He was playing Spell Tag, which boosts Ghost type moves on Aegislash with Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, King Shield, and Sacred Sword. Really cool. Probably, again, counter meta, I would imagine, to certain things, but not playing any Steel type moves. So I think just sort of going full on, strong defensive typing and just a ton of damage maybe on these ghost type moves. No setup or sword stance or anything. And then double megas. So Mega Delphox and Mega Floette. Now these Pokemon are actually fairly similar. I would say that Floette is definitely a little bit harder hitting, but Delphox is a bit faster. So you have kind of your pick and choose options. The thing about Delphox and Floette as megas is that they complement each other. Now, you can play, of course, more than one Mega on your team, but you can only bring one to the battle. But that's not that big of a deal. Because again, Mega Floette really struggles with poison type attacks and steel type attacks, and Delphox deals with those much more easily because it's a fire and psychic type. So, Sneasler is something that Mega Floette can really struggle with, and same against Aegislash, but Delphox can deal with those attackers pretty easily with things like Psychic and Heat Wave. So I really think that Delphox does quite well. We see Encore as well. Encore is an incredible move to be playing on Delphox because it's so fast. So you can Mega Evolve, Encore them into something they don't want to be Encored in, and then kind of start setting up. I really like Mega Delphox. I actually think it's one of the best Megas in the entire game. Has incredible speed, incredible special attack, and honestly, very respectful special defense. This thing is not weak by any stretch of the imagination. One of my favorite Pokemon in the game. Mousehold is interesting. Mousehold is definitely interesting. We took a look at Mousehold here. Where was it? So 13 people played it, but it had a pretty good win rate on some successful teams. But to be fair, the only next successful team to play Mousehold was down here in 37th place. So Burning Blazer kind of bringing that Mousehold to great effect, which is certainly very cool. And yeah, very creative team. Love this team. Now, we do not have replica codes, and we don't have the stat investments, of course, just because those are not a part of the process when people are inputting their teams. But also, this Floette has 3 moves. I don't know what happened here. Is it only playing 3 moves? Why is it playing 3 moves? I assume maybe this is supposed to be Protect or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he only played 3 moves, or maybe he submitted his team wrong. Who knows? But that's a little bit suspect for sure. But anyway, maybe he never used Mega Floette. Maybe he just used it to bait his opponents. Who knows? Next up is going to be Nibot from Peru, 2nd place, and this is his team. Also playing the Mega Floette, but this time is playing Protect. So Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, Calm Mind, Protect. And I think that's pretty common. Getting that Calm Mind off on Floette is so insane. It really is. If your opponent doesn't have a strong physical attacker to deal with it, it's going to be pretty difficult. Also playing Aegislash. The 2 top teams of the tournament this week playing Aegislash. And they're playing very similar builds here. Both playing Spell Tag. This one is playing Ironhead instead of Sacred Sword. I think that kind of makes more sense personally, but interesting nonetheless. He was playing both the Sneasler and Incineroar combo here. So Citrus Berry, Incineroar, White Herb, Sneasler, and here is that Choice Scarf Rotom Wash I was talking about. So again, I really think Rotom Wash can be played in a million different ways. It's just a strong Pokemon. It's got a great stats all around. It's bulky, but also fast enough where if you Scarf it, you're going to outspeed Pokemon. And it's got Levitate, so you're immune to ground types. And it hits hard. It's got a great special attack stat. Interestingly, though, we are playing Will-O-Wisp, so I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe this is for like the hard callouts if you just wanted to really get a Will-O-Wisp down before your opponent can do anything, and then you kind of can just make maybe hard swap from there, because of course you can't. You're going to choice Scarf yourself into Will-O-Wisp, and then Electro Web for speed control, which I absolutely love. Thunderbolt and Hydro Pump. So shout out to Rotom Wash. I really think it's massively underrated. But let's take a look at Komodo. So playing Clangorous Soul, Clanging Scales, Komodo. So kind of a setup Komodo build, right? Certainly pretty cool. This thing is fighting and dragon type, which means that fairies are going to absolutely knock it off the face of the earth. But this is a team that can kind of deal with fairies pretty easily with Sneaslers, Dire Claw, and Iron Head on Aegislash. You know what I mean? So kind of an interesting, team here. To play Rotom Wash, Komodo, Aegislash is kind of nuts. But, building your team around Mega Floette always kind of makes some sense. And I mean, Mega Floette, honestly, both teams all the way at the end of the tournament here at the top of the standings playing Floette and playing Aegislash, right? So that should tell you something for sure. In third place is going to be a really fun rain team. And I think rain teams are very, very cool right now. Mostly the ones that are playing Mega Meganium, because I think Mega Meganium is so interesting in the rain. It's such a funny Pokemon, right? So it's a grass and fairy type, that again, you can play in the rain, where you would play typically water type Pokemon to boost their damage. But also, if the Weather Ball from Mega Meganium in the rain is a fire type move. So you're a grass Pokemon in the rain hitting for a fire type attacks that are super strong with Weather Ball. Kind of covers all of the bases. Mega Meganium is actually an incredible Pokemon and are very dangerous in Tailwind. If you start out speeding things with Mega Meganium in the rain, it's going to be like kind of crazy. But also, there's good synergy because the rain is going to decrease the damage of fire type moves that Mega Meganium doesn't really want to be taking, you know what I mean? Basculegion, absolutely insane. And we are also playing Trick Room. So this is another team playing both, Tailwind and Trick Room, which I really like. Like, I like the concept of that because, again, sometimes it is just a bit better to play Trick Room if your opponent is playing Tailwind. But even in this deck, because King Gambit and Mega Meganium aren't necessarily fast Pokemon, they are going to be very effective Trick Room attackers. So I really like this team. This is a really, really cool team. Again, having both Tailwind and Trick Room is cool. This is Colbur Berry for Rigorath, so shout out to the Colbur Berry. Focus Sash on the Pelipper. Most people playing Focus Sash for sure. But as we saw, Aerodactyl becoming a very, very, one of the most effective Tailwind setters. I think Whimsicott's kind of on the out. Like right now, you're either playing, Aerodactyl or possibly playing like Pelipper for the rain. Maybe sometimes Whimsicott still, sometimes playing, I guess you could play, there's actually a lot of Tailwind setters. Tailwind is pretty a common move. Like a lot of Pokemon get Tailwind. Dragonite can Tailwind, Corviknight can Tailwind. There's actually a lot. Anyway, really like this team. Mega Meganium kind of slept on. I'm not going to lie. So Mega Delphox makes an appearance here at the top of the standings, but so does Mega Meganium and then Mega Floette, of course, double time. Make that 4 times here in top 4 because Willfire's deck from Italy, or I say deck, Willfire's team. It's such a habit. I apologize. His team, 4th place from Italy. He was playing, what is this? Mega Floette as well. So, this is a very standard team here, but again, Grass, Fire, Water Core, White Herb, Sneasler, this team's got this, I look at this team and I'm like, okay, like you're just going to play like all of the best Pokemon in the game and probably be successful. But, that's kind of what it comes down to. I think sometimes if you're just playing a really good team, you're probably going to do pretty well. Sneasler and Incineroar, so that support core kind of insane. Sinistra with Mega Floette and Rotom Wash. I really like this team. I mean, I like all of these Pokemon. Is anything kind of crazy up here? I don't think so. I think, so this is Citrus Berry Rotom instead of the Choice Scarf. Not playing any Scarfers on this team. Shuka Berry Incineroar is a little bit nuts as well. This Rotom Wash here with Citrus Berry playing Will-O-Wisp, Electro Web, Volt Switch, and Hydro Pump, just like the other Rotom, which is crazy that you can swap the items on these Pokemon and play the exact same moves. But yeah, Sinistra here, Aqua Berry. So playing a lot of damage reduction berries, certainly going to be very, very strong. Like they really are really impactful in Pokemon Champions right now. Matcha Gotcha, Life Dew, Trick Room, of course, so another Trick Room center on the team, and Rage Powder. And it's something that I kind of do recommend. Like a lot of Pokemon are kind of middling. Like a lot of the strongest Pokemon in the game are pretty middling. But also, sometimes, you don't know which kind of lead off is going to be better, right? So, sometimes, you just kind of choose to bring that Trick Room and you click Trick Room instead of Tailwind, right? If you know that maybe your opponent's Tailwind Pokemon are going to be faster than yours. So, that's the cool thing about this team. Incineroar's not that fast. Rotom Wash not that fast. Mega Floette is kind of fast, but not that fast either, right? So Definitely a really awesome team. These are honestly what I would kind of consider to be like all of like what the strongest Pokemon are right now. Mega Floette, the strongest Mega Sinistra, the strongest support Pokemon. You know, Incineroar, Sneasler, Rotom Wash, Aerodactyl. Just play like every strong Pokemon in the game. You'll be somewhat successful. Fifth place is going to be Ducky VG, his team from Germany, 9-2. And this is an awesome team as well. This is going to be a Scarfed, Snow Warning, Alola Ninetales. So what's interesting about Ninetales is that, you know, it's pretty fast and hits pretty hard. A lot of people play like Aurora Veil, but I think that playing Alola Ninetales just as like a Scarf, like strong attacking option is pretty cool. Also, like we get the Stab, Icy Wind for the speed control. Freeze Dry to hit some of those water types, which is kind of a crazy move. Moonblast, Blizzard, like these are going to deal a ton of damage. Blizzard is, you know, 100% effective, right? In the snow. So, you know, kind of weather control a little bit here. And that's kind of probably what Ninetales is doing. It's just sort of a defensive mechanism against other teams that like to set up the weather. And I think that's pretty cool. Citrus Berry on the Rotom Wash. We're playing King Gambit. We're playing Garchomp. So this is the first time we're seeing the Garchomp. That's a Lumberry Garchomp. No, did we have one earlier in the standings? We did. Yeah, the number one team had Garchomp. But yeah, this Garchomp with Lumberry, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Protect. So, you know, Earthquake, we're going to be able to play with Mega Delphox. It does have Levitate. Levitate is a very strong ability. Like, it's really nice. Like, if you can ever click Stab Earthquake on a Garchomp, you know, you're going to be doing all right. You know, so Rotom Wash, Mega Delphox, double Levitate users, lots of great type coverage here. The Alola Ninetales is kind of interesting. I'm not going to lie. The King Gambit here and the Sneeze are probably going to be pretty good to kind of maybe deal with those Floettes, double super effective attacks there, because Garchomp's obviously not going to be super great into Mega Floette. But yeah, I really like this team. I do. This is a good one. Yeah, Garchomp, Rotom Wash, Mega Delphox, absolutely insanity. The Alola Ninetales, kind of a spicy attack there, but I do like to see it. Excuse me, sorry. What's the sixth place? We've got Quello Scarso. I like the name. Sixth place, playing Mega Scizor. So Mega Scizor makes an appearance. Mega Scizor is absolutely broken in single battles, but also just a strong Pokemon. This is a dual Mega team, so Mega T-Tar and Mega Scizor, Sinistra, Arcanine. So we're playing, you know, an Intimidate Arcanine instead of a, you know, an Incineroar. What's cool about the Arcanine though is it's a little bit faster, but also like you like Burn Up is a crazy. This is a crazy move. So if you don't know what Burn Up does, I think it's like 120 or 130 base power, but after you play it, it removes your fire type, you know, your fire typing. So it's kind of like a one-time, like super strong stab type move, but really, really good. Snarl here for a little bit of support with Intimidate. Really like it. I think Snarl drops special attack. So if you come in, you Intimidate with Arcanine, you Snarl, like that's a ton of support, reducing a ton of damage coming on the board. Will-O-Wisp as well to double up on the damage reduction. Arcanine is, in fact, definitely underrated. I know Incineroar is so good because it gets Fake Out and whatnot, but I think Arcanine is very, very underrated. This is going to be Trick, Choice Scarf, Rotom. So this is another way that people can play Rotom, right? If you play Choice Scarf, you can play Trick and swap items with your opponent. It can be a really, really fun strategy. Honestly, like a comment, this is a throwback because Trick Scarfed Rotom has been a thing for a very long time. Like I'm talking like 12 years. So this is really fun. I like to see this set. Sinistra still in here doing Sinistra things. Mega T-Tar. Let's talk about Mega T-Tar because I think that Mega Tyranitar is kind of slept on. The thing about turn order in Champions, even though it's a little bit strange, is that, you know, Tyranitar comes in and it sets up the weather, but Tyranitar typically is pretty slow. So against like other weather setters, like a Ninetales, like a, you know, I don't know, like a Pelipper, you know, you should be able to overwrite their weather with Tyranitar if you are slower. Now, Mega Charizard is a different example because when they Mega Evolve, that happens after you swap in and then they reset your weather. So that can be dangerous. But Mega T-Tar can, again, put up the weather twice. Like, it's a weird Pokemon because normal Tyranitar sets up the weather, but also Mega T-Tar. So, like, you can go Sandstream, get it, have it overwritten, and then Mega Evolve because, you know, swapping it happens before you Mega Evolve. So it's kind of a weird thing. And a lot of people don't necessarily always predict Tyranitar in tournaments. I think it's open team sheet. But Mega Tyranitar is just an absolute animal. This thing is it's hard to even describe. Like, you get the special defense boost up with the Sandstorm, and Tyranitar is so bulky, has such high attack. Unless you hit this thing with a fighting type move, like, you're probably just not going to be able to deal with it. Now, unfortunately for Tyranitar, you know, Choice, or not Choice Scarf, but close combat Sneasler's out there and it's everywhere. So that's, part of the issue with Mega Tyranitar. But if you go up against an opponent that's not really playing a fighting type stab or playing a Sneasler, I think Mega T-Tar is like super duper effective. It's just incredibly strong. Dragon Dance, so setup. We're playing setup T-Tar. It's incredible. And then of course Mega Scizor, which is actually very effective into Mega Floette. I don't know if how many people play like Mega Scizor in the grand scheme of VGC right now, but Technician, Bullet Punch, Swords Dance is going to be extremely effective at dealing with Mega Floette. So I think that Mega Scizor is kind of slept on. I'm not going to lie. This is a cool team. The Arcanine, Mega Scizor, Tyranitar stuff, definitely interesting. That's an interesting team. We're not even playing anything to really like to synergize really with Tyranitar, which is crazy. But yeah, pretty cool. You could also just bring Scizor. Like, here's the thing. Like, you can just bring Scizor with Scizorite, but you can't Mega Evolve, I don't think. I could be wrong about that. I think you can just bring this and just, you don't have an item that's usable for the game, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, you can bring both these Pokemon. I think that's how it works. Maybe Champions doesn't let you. But you can only Mega Evolve once, but I'm pretty sure you can bring multiple Pokemon with Mega Stones to the battle, right? So normal T-Tar is effective and normal Scizor are effective Pokemon regardless. So very, very cool. Definitely very interesting. I like that team. What do we got next? We've got Shaik HVGC from India, 8-3. So this team's going to have some stuff that we haven't necessarily seen a ton of yet. Well, I say that, but it's just sort of, the Gale Wings Talonflame, which is a good card. Like, I did it again. It's a good Pokemon. Talonflame, another effective Tailwind setter. It's just tough because Aerodactyl exists. Now we're playing Sharpbeak instead of like a Focus Sash, which is a bit crazy. But when you're at full HP, this says Gale Wings, so there's a typo on this website, which is funny. Basically, when you're at full HP, you get priority, and that is priority Tailwind, but also priority dual Wing Beats. So Tailwind is also very effective at counterplaying against Whimsicott, but not many people play Whimsicott. I think that Aerodactyl and Talonflame are both just a little bit more relevant right now. Yeah, we also have Flare Blitz to just deal damage. Habanberry, Garchomp is absolutely insanity. Focus Sash, Aegislash. So interesting there as well. Focus Sash on the Aegislash, not a bad move though, considering that when you stance change, this thing is actually pretty frail. So you got to be kind of careful with it. But I like Focus Sash. I think that's actually pretty cool. Shadow Sneak. So the last couple we saw were Shadow Tag. Interesting. Still got that Choice Scarf adaptability, Basket Legion, one of the most absurd Pokemon of all time. But yeah. What is this here? So this is Playboy Cardi. I like the username. This is going to be his team. This is Mega Floette. I think this is very similar to another team we've taken a look at. Mega Floette is just the strongest Mega Pokemon. I think that basically all of these teams are kind of pointing that in that direction. Yeah, Tailwind, Aerodactyl, Akaberry, Sinistcha is definitely interesting. I forget like the names of the berries and which ones do which, but these are the damage reduction berries. So I just kind of forget. Black Glasses, Kingambit, let's go. Citrus Berry, Incineroar, White Herb, Sneasler. Yeah, pretty straightforward team. I mean, just strong Pokemon all across the board. I want to pick something that's more interesting down here. Like let's, there is actually, let's take a look here. Almond Spy from Great Britain. This team is awesome. This is a Mega Frostlass team, but look at this. Focus Sash, Speed Boost, Espathra. This Pokemon is super slept on. Espathra is an incredible Pokemon right now in this sort of limited Pokemon pool metagame for Pokemon Champions. This is so funny. So Speed Boost means that every turn your speed gets increased, and that works like if you protect. So you can just go ahead, protect, get a free speed boost if you want to, or Feather Dance is crazy, Hypnosis, and then Lumina Crash. So just a really strange support type of Espathra build. One thing that I don't see too many people do with Espathra, which is probably more common in single battles than double battles, is Baton Pass. So you can run like Calm Mind, Speed Boost, Baton Pass, Espathra. Like that was a pretty legitimate strategy in single battles. But I don't know if like Baton Pass is going to be that common in doubles, but pretty crazy. Lumina Crash is a very, very strong attack. Does 80 base damage, and then drops your opponent's special defense by like 2 stages. This is crazy. Like this sets up KOs on basically anything. And then Mega Frostlass. And I like Mega Frostlass. It's just, it feels very like one-dimensional. Like when I see a Mega Frostlass, they're going to click Aurora Veil, and they're going to have Blizzard, and they're going to have Shadow Ball. Like the sets are always the same, and it's always going to kind of do the same thing. And again, You can, of course, just sort of change the weather later in the game, and they kind of struggle without the snow up. The snow does give Frostlass a defense boost, so in the snow, Aurora Veil is very strong. But also at the same time, the special attack on Frostlass is super good. Like, I think most of the time, it's probably more effective to just click an attack with Frostlass than it is to click Aurora Veil, because even through Aurora Veil, you're probably going to get blown up by certain Pokemon. And then we have Hisuian Arcanine. I love Hisuian Arcanine. I think it deserves to see more play. Also an Intimidate Pokemon, but this thing has insane damage output. So we've got Flare Blast, Rock Slide, Extreme Speed. So the thing about Arcanine is I think it's slower. Hisuian Arcanine is slower than normal Arcanine, but has like higher defenses or higher attack. One of the two I kind of forget. So this is just like it's an Intimidate user, but does big damage. Can absolutely come in and deal a ton of damage. Stab, Rock Slide is gonna be super nice on an Intimidate user. And then the rest we got King Gambit, Sneasler, and Sinistcha. So I love Citrus Berry on Sinistcha. I think it's broken. I think the ability to have Hospitality and Citrus Berry and Life Dew and Machagacha are kind of like, it's kind of unfair. Like, for some reason, this Pokemon is super bulky. It does a decent amount of damage. It's got great moves, like great support moves, but it just always lives attacks. Like, so hard to want to kill Sinistcha. Very cool team. Next up, though, let's take a look at Starmie. So we do have, what is this, Woj Tech King? A Mega Starmie team. Let's take a look at this Mega Starmie team. You gotta love this. So this is, not playing the self-destruct tech that we've seen on the social medias recently, but Mega Starmie, super cool. To be honest, like, huge power Starmie is like kind of a beast. Like, it is definitely interesting. The thing about it is that I don't know how fast it is. I think it's like decently fast, but doesn't have like, I actually forget how fast Mega Starmie is, but it does a ridiculous amount of damage. Now the typing is a little bit awkward. Like, you're weak to Dark, you're weak to Ghost, you're weak to Lightning, weak to Grass. So there's a lot of things that you're weak to. Your defenses aren't necessarily that incredible, but I mean, a huge power liquidation to the face is gonna delete things. So this is one of the more interesting Pokemon in the game. I think I've seen a lot of Starmies, Mega Starmies, like on rain teams, but also like it's kind of weird because when you see the Starmie, you know that they're bringing it. You know what I mean? And it's not something you're necessarily too afraid of as a leadoff option. I've seen some people play like self-destruct huge power Starmie, and it is definitely pretty interesting. No Tailwind on this team, but we do have Trick Room on the Sinistcha. Tyranitar, probably taking use of that. Also Gardevoir. So this is a Choice Scarf Gardevoir, which I actually like that a lot. So Scarfed, Gardevoir, and then Focus Sash Excadrill. Focus Sash Excadrill is like the bane of my existence. This thing is so annoying. Having to take like 2 attacks with Sand Rush if you don't have a way to clear the weather is so annoying. This thing hits so hard. It's super fast. Doubles the speed in the Sandstorm. So we see the old Tyranitar Excadrill core alongside Rotom Heat. With I think Rotom Heat is just generally not as good as Rotom Wash, like just like in general, like it's typing. But you do have Overheat, so you have access to that fire type stab, and that's pretty cool. About this team, right? Water, grass, fire, and that's going to be a pretty solid. Choice Scarf, Gardevoir is nuts. Icy Wind, Moonblast, Dazzling Psyshock. The thing about I guess in a closed team sheet, this team would be more interesting because you're like, oh, maybe they're playing a dual Mega Gardevoir, Mega Starmie type build, whichever one they want to bring. But like scarfing Pokemon, I think is like definitely really relevant in closed team sheets. I don't know like how much you can surprise people right in a tournament if they see that your Gardevoir has like a Choice Scarf, you know what I mean? But a very, very cool team. I love that. That's awesome. That's a really, really cool one. Let's highlight one more team. Let's go down here to Asterio, who is playing Parashong Rain. And another one of my favorite teams, in the game right now. Doesn't see a ton of play, but it's the concept of having Mega Gengar and Politoed both with Parashong, and then you can kind of play like other other like rain Pokemon or water Pokemon that are strong in the rain. It's really cool. Sinistcha, you kind of have to play with Mega Gengar. The thing about this strategy is that, you obviously know what your opponent's going to do, but it's also really heavy hitting when you have Politoed and Palafin. And then we have a Mega Floette thrown in here, which I think also is probably a pretty good deal. Because like if your opponent goes into a battle, they're like, all right, is he going to go with a Perish Trap on the Mega Gengar, or is he just going to bring Politoed, Palafin, still have Perish Trap, but also have Mega Floette. So you got to kind of deal with both the possibility of Mega Gengar and Mega Floette, which I think is certainly really cool. Substitute, no disable, but playing Substitute, Perish Song, Shadow Ball, Protect on the Mega Gengar. And that kind of makes some sense here. So, you know, the concept, of course, being that you could substitute and, you know, reduce your total incoming damage by at least a little bit. And then, of course, Fake Out. So, you know, Sinistra for the Hospitality ability, Incineroar for Intimidate. These are things that you typically just see with Mega Gengar. And then you have some Weather Control with Politoed. So I like it. There was, I think, a Gengar Politoed Rain Rain team that we highlighted last week, and honestly, one of my favorites, one of my favorite types of teams in all of Champions. And anyway, that's gonna be kind of it. That's just a snapshot of a large tournament this week. Is this video interesting to you guys? Would you guys stay and watch this? I really like covering the metagame and like kind of seeing what people are bringing, what's doing well, what's trending up. You know, again, like the metagame tab in this data is actually very useful, right? So again, Incineroar struggling a little bit from a win rate perspective, but 50% of the meta share. These are all of the most played Pokemon, at least at this tournament in particular. And a lot of things have been on the rise. Aerodactyl's on the rise, Floette definitely dominating. Charizard struggling a little bit, at least in this tournament. Yeah, things like Rotom Wash with Garchomp. And then, of course, if we go down here, where is it? You know, Delphox, Mega Delphox, and Meganium. Kind of slept on a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Super, super cool. Yeah, shout out to all of these players. If any of these players are watching this video, you know, shout out to you guys. And again, I'm sorry I don't have like the trial or the what is it called? Like the rental teams? They're not rental. What is it called? Replica teams. Sorry, I don't have like the replica codes or whatnot. We just don't have that information on here. Yeah, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to try to make like a meta report video once a week, whether it's an online tournament that we're going to be covering or like an official tournament, right, that they do sometimes. You know, tournaments are kind of all of the time. Like Pokemon Champions is going to be the competitive game for Pokemon Champions moving forward. So it's I think going to be something that we can keep up with, you know. And what's cool about Champions is I think they're going to be updating this game like pretty periodically. So like new Pokemon, new items, things like that should be added to the game, and that's just going to further change the metagame. So, you know, I want to kind of keep up with it in our video series here on the channel. So I think the next video we're going to upload is going to be Saturday. Probably going to be highlighting another collection of like the best teams right now. But I'm going to be spending time and working to make sure that that video does include the replica codes. So on the meta report videos, we're not really going to be able to supply those codes. But what I do want to do is on the Saturday videos or weekend videos, when I talk about like the best teams at the moment, those I will have the replica codes for you. So I'll put in the work and build those teams out in Champions so that, of course, we can have them available, the replica codes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, peace out. Bye.